Equality Caucus, co-chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, Immigration Task Force, and as an assistant whip for the Democratic Caucus. He's part of about 30 different caucuses, including the India Caucus. He also is the founder and chairman of both the Bipartisan Congressional Caucus to End the Youth Vaping Epidemic and Bipartisan Solar Caucus. He earned a bachelor degree in mechanical engineering from Princeton University and received his Juris Doctor from Harvard Law School. Rajaji and his wife Priya, a physician, live in Schaumburg with their 2 sons and a daughter. Please welcome Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy. We really appreciate, I know you have to be on the other meeting, but we appreciate you being here.
Good morning, namaste. Thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me, Sudhir?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Well, good morning to everybody and good evening to people in India. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be with you, and it's an honor, as I like to say, to be someplace where they can pronounce my name correctly. This is a true story. When I first ran for office, I said to somebody in Chicago, "Hi, my name is Raja Krishnamurthy." And the person in Chicago looked right back at me and said, "Roger Christian Murphy, very nice to meet you." And then he said, "I didn't know the Irish made it to India." And so anyway, it's a great pleasure to be with you. I'd like to honor those 3 rules of Zoom speaking: be short, be sweet, and be gone. And so I only have 3 short points that I want to make. I want to say a special big thank you to the Consulate General of India, Ambassador Randhir Jaiswal, the consulate, as well as Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Gopio, as well as the organizers of today's Zoom event, including Sudhir, Mrs. Gandhi Bhattacharjee, Mr. Vijay Goyal, Mr. Gyan, Mrs. Sharma, Dr. Abraham, Dr. Mehta, Dr. Shah, and of course the boards of Gopio and Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. Thank you so much for organizing today's event. The second point I want to make is, quite frankly, Mahatma Gandhiji was a figure not only important in India, but really important in the United States and the world. As you know, in this particular moment of the pandemic, when we hear calls for justice, equality, we hear calls for equity in healthcare and the economy, I think Gandhiji's fight for freedom, dignity, and equality for all could not be more timely. Americans today can learn from Gandhi's example as we strive for a more perfect union. And as Gandhi once said, nonviolence is the greatest force at the disposal of mankind. It is mightier than the mightiest weapon of destruction. And indeed, that particular weapon of nonviolence is what informed Dr. Martin Luther King's fight for equality here in the United States and revolutionized our efforts in the United States to become a more tolerant, equitable, diverse, and harmonious society. And the struggle continues. I think it's only appropriate that we also recognize that on this 75th anniversary of Gandhiji's demise, that we also remember that this past week we celebrated Republic Day in India. And the fact that India is one of the world's greatest secular democracies. It is diverse in its splendor. It has also achieved so much so fast. It is now the world's 6th largest economy, and it will be one of the world's top 2 economies in the latter part of the century. It has administered 1.6 billion doses of vaccine during this pandemic. It has also received a record amount of foreign direct investment, and it has produced so many great exports to the world. And so I segue to my third and final point, which is the greatest export of India is you, Indian Americans. You are the greatest export of India. And you in this country have achieved so much in America. And I am among the great admirers of your achievements. I happen to be one of the 4 Indian Americans or Desis in Congress. I affectionately refer to us as the Samosa Caucus. And as a member of the Samosa Caucus, not only do I hope there are more samosas and pakoras and idlis and vades in Congress, but I also say to you that Indian Americans form the bridge, the essential bridge between India and the United States. And I am committed to strengthening those ties in my role in Congress between the world's largest democracy and its oldest. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for everything that you do for your families, your communities, and this country. And so with that, I just want to close with my favorite saying, which is that yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. And that's why we call it the present. I am so honored and blessed to be with you here today, to celebrate Gandhiji, to celebrate India, to celebrate all the hosts and all the participants on this Zoom, and to see how together we can make the world a better place. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you very much, Rajaji. And next, I would like to invite, I would like to welcome Honorable Consul General of India in New York, Shri Randir Jaiswalji. New York Consulate is one of the biggest and the busiest consulates with 10 states under this jurisdiction. He is a great supporter of the community and Bharti Vidya Bhavan. Bharti Vidya Bhavan has been sponsoring joint programs with the consulate for over 30 years, and Randirji has graciously continued the tradition of promoting arts, culture, and heritage of India. Randir Jaiswalji is a career diplomat. He joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1998. In his over 2 decades of diplomatic career so far, he has served in Portugal, Cuba, South Africa, and the Permanent Mission of India in New York. In between his overseas assignments, he served in New Delhi at the Ministry of External Affairs, first as Deputy Secretary looking after India's relations with the United States, and then as Joint Secretary managing India's relations with West European countries. In the middle of 2017, he was deputed to serve the President of India as Joint Secretary managing his international relations portfolio. Randir Jaiswalji is passionate about sports, environment, culture, monuments, and international cuisines. He's deeply interested in strategic, sustainable development public policy issues. He has been part of India's delegation at various climate changes conference and was the chief negotiator for the G77 countries at the Rio 20 conference held in Brazil. He speaks Hindi, English, Portuguese, Spanish, and he's conversant with several dialects of Bihar. He's married to Dr. Abha Jaiswalji, a public health expert, and they have 2 daughters. Please welcome our own Randir Jaiswalji.
Namaste, Sudhirji, and first of all, thank you to Bharti Vidya Bhavan for continuing this tradition of organizing community-led memorial service to remember the life and legacy of Mahatma Gandhi on his Punyatithi. I thank Bharti Vidya Bhavan, and I also thank Gopio Manhattan for getting us all together to remember him on this day. As I thank our community members, distinguished community members to bring us together, I recall that in 1948, on 7th February, the Indian community in New York had organized a memorial service in the town hall on the demise of Mahatma Gandhi. It is indeed fitting that we have, and the community has continued with this tradition of remembering the father of our nation each year on his Punyatithi. I would also like to recognize Honorable Congress Raja Krishnamurthy was there. He spoke about Mahatma Gandhi, his legacy, and also about all that is happening in India. I would also like to recognize friends of Shri Vijay Goyal ji, Madam Tara Gandhi ji, Shri Dipankar Basu ji, Mrs. Reinu Sharma ji, Dr. Naveen Mehta, and Dr. Thomas Abraham, Chairman of Gopio International. Mahatma Gandhi's teachings, his life and legacy is deeply connected with the United States of America, even though he did not travel to this continent, but he was influenced deeply by the thought leaders of this continent. And then we had several leaders, tall political leaders, leaders of the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr., and several others who were influenced by his idea of nonviolence, of civil disobedience, and several other aspects of his political thought and action. Gandhiji, in my understanding, is relevant today and will be relevant to our lives in the days and years to come. Two things I would want to be very specific. If we want to deal with the issue of climate change, if we want to make this planet more sustainable, we have to listen to what Mahatma Gandhi said more than a century ago about respect for nature, about a respect for the environment and everything around us. I think his teachings today are singularly important to be put into practice if we have to answer or take action on climate change. Second thing, we're living in a globalized world. People are moving from one continent to the other. People and families and communities are moving from one part of the country to the other, one city to the other, one country to the other. In such an environment where you have so much of this constant flow of people and ideas and cultures, it is very important that we respect people and their cultural backgrounds. And for that reason, we have to listen to what Mahatma Gandhi said about brotherhood, about unity, about compassion, about togetherness, and the whole world being one universal space. So if we have to deal with today's problems of hate crimes, for example, or divisions within the society, I think we have to listen to the Mahatma. This year happens to be India's 75th year of independence. We are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. And for that reason, today's get-together, memorial service to remember Mahatma Gandhi becomes all the more important. For he was responsible for our Azadi, along with other national leaders. And we owe a lot to the father of our nation. Thank you very much, Bharati Vidya Bhavan, Sudhir ji, and all your team members, and Gopi Manhattan for organizing this beautiful memorial service. Jai Hind. Namaste.
Thank you, Randirji. Thank you for being here with us with your kind words. Next, I would like to introduce my co-host, who's also a board of director, Mr. Ravi Iyer, to introduce our next guest. There is a slight change. We will bring over Tara Ma or Tara Bhattacharya next. Ravi?
Okay,
Yes. Well,
Thank you, Sudhir, and thank you, Jeswalji, for those wonderful words of inspiration on a day like this. And I think you chose the right message to share with us. Nothing
please
better.
increase audio, sir, because you can please increase your audio. Or come
Okay,
closer.
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Much better.
do I have
Okay.
to speak now?
No,
Am I
I'm just speaking. Yeah, sorry. So nothing better than getting this opportunity to introduce Tanama. And as a lot of people would know, um, she is the daughter of late Devdas Gandhi and Lakshmi Devdas Gandhi, and she was born around 24th of April, 34 in New Delhi. Very interestingly, she held the position as a vice chairman of Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Smriti for nearly a decade. Which is, and as a lot of you all would know, that it's a site of the martyrdom of Mahatma Gandhi, which is a symbol for itself for truth and non-violence. She's also involved with the movement to protect rivers and the environment of the country. And this particular movement, which is Save the Ganga movement, she's been very actively associated with it for the last 18 years or so. And she's been working with all the devotion for the Kasturba Gandhi National Memorial Trust, which was founded by Gandhiji in the memory of his wife, Kasturba Gandhi, which also is a national memorial trust, which largely serves the needy women and children of rural India. So it's an honor on this day to have you in this presence. Are you able to hear me, Tarama, clearly?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Thank you very
My
much.
pleasure. So I wanted to actually use this opportunity to ask you and keep it more like an open dialogue, because that is something that will actually be an inspiration for a lot of people to hear you. So may I go with a question?
Yes,
Since you have been so close to the entire, I would call the environment in and around Mahatma Gandhiji,
yes.
we know he was an epitome of compassion. And today, if you look within this world, compassion itself is a deficit in the world today. So my question would be, Tarma, how can we promote compassion in this world?
Well, how do we promote compassion? I mean, first of all, I want to thank you for this privilege of being with all of you, such distinguished people. It's like a satsang. You know what the meaning of satsang is: being in the company of truth, love, and compassion. I think satsangs will bring compassion and the consciousness of compassion. But you asked me how to promote compassion. The only thing one can say, or I would say, is to show compassion to others, and others will get it. One cannot preach compassion. One can only do it. And that is very necessary. And I would say on this subject that what this universal space, this planet needs for the human society is now the education of the child, of the children and the youth. They represent the future. And unless we have compassion and love and forgiveness and examples of truth before them with compassion, they will not be responsible citizens of tomorrow. So our goal is now, how do we give examples and show love and truth and responsibility to the children and the youth? This is, I think it is of paramount importance, our education to the children and the youth, this all over the world.
That was wonderful, Dharma. I think that those words of wisdom matter a lot. And I think we have a diverse set of people watching this program, from the very, very young to the elderly. So I think this is a uniform formula. So I really like what the message that you conveyed. And I thank you so much for it. But I still would want to be persisting and taking a little bit of your mind.
Yes,
And
sure.
second question. The second question would be partly in relation to what you said, and that would be in the midst of conflict that we see around the world. We not only see it, we have seen in the past, but very actively nowadays, you see a lot of conflict. My question would be,
I didn't
what
get your.
do to encourage the practice of nonviolence in our daily lives? What would you fundamentally request, or what would you fundamentally urge the people to follow as a practice of nonviolence in our day-to-day life, be it at home, be it at place of work, be it outside? what would be your words of wisdom?
Well, I would really not be able to tell people how to do it, but I can tell you what I have been trying to do, and it's not always possible. It is hard, but one tries. I asked the once a very, what shall I say, a really serious philosopher of Gandhi, and Professor Ramchandra Gandhi. I asked him, I said, Ramji, just tell me, why is Bapuji considered to be so important? And why do people talk of his non-violence and truth? So Ramchandra Gandhi said to me that, listen, it was Bapuji who studied all the philosophies and religions and took the best out of them and followed the philosophies, the truth of the philosophy in his everyday, the dailiness of his life. The values were not put on the shelf to be remembered, but to be practiced in small things in the dailiness of life. And this is what Gandhi did, this is what Bapuji did. And that is why he has become the Mahatma and the Satyagrahi. I would say that one tries to live to the values of great philosophies and put them in the small steps one takes. This is how I would look at non-violence. Because violence and fear, a fearlessness, there is a fearlessness of the terrorist, which causes fear. But there is a fearlessness of Gandhi, which inspires love. And that is what we need. All the terrorists that we see and we hear about have gone through a very brutal childhood. So they become like that. And that is why I again repeat that we have to give examples of kindness to children so that they don't become, there is a less chance of their becoming terrorists. And this is what Gandhi did in his small things, even in his handwriting, that some handwriting should be good. I mean, he never could achieve that, but he was very conscious of it. He always wanted to learn a new word of a new language every day. He wanted to spin something to associate with the spinners of the country, spinners and the weavers. And there was something he did every day, like prayer, writing letters, and his holistic teaching that one should live with, like there is enough for the need of a person, but there is never sufficient for the greed of a person. This is what I would say, that all these little things, when he said, they appeared little. And I believe Kasturba, I was very close to Kasturba till her death. She died in the prison of Aga Khan Palace, but I was very close to her. But she always argued with Gandhi that you are not right here, you are wrong there. But in the end, Gandhi's simple words became the truth of the entire humanity. And that is why Gandhi has reached now, Gandhi belongs to the whole world, not just to India and America, and not even to South Africa. He belongs to the entire world. The father of the nation of India belongs to the entire world. But I would like to say, maybe you are interested to know that he was also a great family person. Very few people know that although he belonged to everyone, he was also a family person. He always wrote to every grandchild, every child, every relative. Letter writing was very important for him. So actually, one should pay homage to that era when the postal system was very good. So everything, whether his correspondence with Tolstoy or Churchill or with Nehru or in America, all that was through letter. That little red post box where we wrote and dropped the letter in that took the letter to the destination. And I pay my homage now to the postal system of that time, because there was no other technology. Telephones were rare, and so letter writing was important. And you know, sitting next to Bapuji, when we talk of the non-violence of Gandhi, sitting next to Bapuji was like, you know, even if he didn't speak, it was like sitting next to some kind of divine power. Even as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, I mean, till my first 14 years of my life, I was close to my grandparents and to the great leaders of that era, that extraordinary era, which I was living in a very ordinary way. But now all the memories are coming back. And I remember, and now I get those vibrations that sitting next to him meant something, the vibration of truth, of love. That when Bapuji touched an inanimate object, like even a pencil or a board or wood or a cup, he touched it as though he was touching the soul within that. We talk of touching the human heart, but he touched even every other object as though it was with respect. Even if he took a pencil, it was with respect. I think this non-violence was something that is practiced. I can recall how he practiced that in little things in the dailiness of his life, in his language. You can't take out what he wrote, what he said. You cannot add to it. You cannot subtract from it. It was classic. He spoke in a low pitch, very clearly, without fear, and spoke with love. He was fearless, and he was very charming. He was a great psychologist. Above all, I would say he was a fearless psychologist. He would turn a foe into a friend. I remember people coming into his room and saying, Mr. Gandhi, we don't agree with you. And they would sit with him and they would leave as friends. Probably they didn't change their views to that extent to which they could have, or the way Gandhi said it, but they left as a friend. And this was Gandhi's power. And when we say non-violent crusade of the Indian independence, the political independence, because the British left as friends. That is why I would call it non-violent. I mean, my growing years, my father was a journalist. I never heard anyone saying the English are like this, the British are not good. I never heard any word like that. We never grew up on hate. And from Gandhi, I never learned, never heard, please practice non-violence, you must spin on the spinning wheel, you must speak the truth. He didn't say all that, but his work spoke. And also the great leaders who came next to him, also their work spoke. So it was an extraordinary era. And today my life is, now I'm reflecting on the extraordinary era, which I lived as in a very ordinary way. But I'm glad that I'm getting some great significance out of it. And I like to share all this with all of you. Thank you very much for this chance.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you much.
This was very inspirational for what you spoke. You actually brought the whole panorama of Gandhiji right with words. I think you also have inculcated choosing the right words, just like Gandhiji would do it. So thank you so much for giving us this time. And I'm sure the audience would have benefited out of it. Thank you once again, Dharma.
Thank you very much.
So,
Sudhir,
yeah. Thank you, Tarama. Next, I would like to invite Honorable Shri Vijay Goyalji to pay his respects to Gandhiji. He is the Vice Chairman of Gandhi Smriti Samiti, Gandhi Smriti Darshan Samiti. It is very hard to sum up Vijayji's career in just few lines or few pages. He has had an illustrious career, and he's also a lawyer, trader, and industrialist. He was elected to 11th, 12th, and 13th Lok Sabha, and was elected to Rajya Sabha in 2014. VG, his initials, and Honorable Prime Minister affectionately called him very good, and handpicked him and appointed him to Prime Minister's office. He held several important positions in government. He's the former Union Minister of State, Prime Minister's Office, Planning Commission, Parliamentary Affairs, Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Youth and Sports Affairs, and Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. He was also the All India General Secretary for BJP and President BJP Delhi. He was a member of several committees, including Home Affairs, Urban Affairs, Joint Parliamentary Committee, and several others. He's a chairman and member of several prestigious educational institutions. He's also a member of several organizations promoting social and cultural activities and sports, and was instrumental. He was the key person. He was very instrumental in bringing the Commonwealth Games to India. Thank you, Goelji. As a president of Swami Vivekananda Smarak Samiti, he installed Vivekanandaji's statue at Delhi University. His father, Shri C.L. Goyal, was the deputy mayor and a speaker of the Delhi Assembly. He has also formed a charitable organization, a toy club, along with his daughter, to distribute toys to underprivileged children. He has been honored with honorary doctorate from the prestigious Gurukul Kangri University from Haridwar. Vijayji is also a ghazal singer, a tabla player, and an avid photographer, having held solo exhibition at prestigious art galleries. Vijay Goelji, thank you very much for joining us. I know you had a busy day with the interfaith prayers and with all the dignitaries. We appreciate you being here, sir.
Thanks for encouraging me. I'm happy to be associated with Ambassador Randeep Kumar Jaiswal, Shrimati Tara Gandhi Bhattacharya, Mr. Naveen Mehta, Mr. H.N. Shah, Reinu Sharma ji, and others, almost 40 persons who are associating with this today's talk. It's a great honor to be part of this August gathering to mark the 74th Martyrdom Day of Mahatma Gandhi on behalf of Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti. I am thankful to my Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who entrusted me with the job of Vice Chairman of Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti. I thank all the organizers for facilitating this important initiative. दोस्तों, आज प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के साथ हमने गांधी जी की 74वीं पुण्यतिथि के ऊपर उनको श्रद्धांजलि दी। गांधी जी को आज हम लोगों ने बहुत कठिन बना दिया है, जबकि गांधी जी बहुत सरल हैं। गांधी जी के साथ इतना कुछ जोड़ दिया है कि कई बार लोगों को लगता है कि अरे गांधी जी का अनुसरण करना बहुत मुश्किल है, जबकि गांधी जी बहुत स्पष्ट तरीके से 2-3 चीजें कहते थे, और इसीलिए हम ये कहते हैं गांधी के ऊपर सेमिनार्स हैं, गांधी के ऊपर सिंपोजियम्स हैं, गांधी के ऊपर टॉक्स हैं, गांधी के ऊपर रिसर्च हैं, किंतु आज सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत है कि हमारे युवा और नई जनरेशन गांधी को अपने जीवन में अपनाए कैसे। भाषण देना लगता बहुत आसान है, टॉक करना लगता बहुत आसान है, पर वो बहुत मुश्किल होती है, क्योंकि बोलने वाले को ये सोचना पड़ता है कि हम खुद उन आदर्शों पर कितना चल रहे हैं, हम कितना फॉलो कर रहे हैं। जानते हैं गांधी जी की सबसे बड़ी बात क्या मुझे अच्छी लगती है, यही कि गांधी जी जो कहते थे वो करते थे। अंग्रेजों को भी पता था, देश को भी पता था कि अगर उन्होंने एक बार ठान ली है सत्याग्रह की, या वो आमरण अनशन पे बैठ गए हैं, तो जब तक उनकी जिद पूरी नहीं होगी तब तक वो नहीं उठेंगे। तो गांधी का मतलब था सेवा। तो आज के युवाओं को जो बताना है वो है गांधी का मतलब था सेवा, गांधी का मतलब था स्वच्छता, गांधी का मतलब है अहिंसा, गांधी का मतलब सत्य, गांधी का मतलब अनुशासन, गांधी का मतलब निडर, गांधी का मतलब अन्याय के खिलाफ लड़ना, गांधी का मतलब छुआछूत को छोड़ना, गांधी का मतलब सर्वधर्म का सम्मान करना। तो इसीलिए हमें ज्यादा ये देखना है कि हम अपने जीवन के अंदर गांधी को कितना उतार रहे हैं, क्योंकि मैं ये समझता हूं गांधी जी ने जो सबसे बड़ी चीज दी थी वो ये दी कि उन्होंने सबसे पहले उस चीज को खुद करके दिखाया, उसके बाद ही उन्होंने लोगों को करने के लिए कहा। और जब लोगों ने ये देखा कि गांधी ने अहिंसा की बात की तो उसके ऊपर पालन किया, गांधी ने सत्य की बात की, तो जब हम गांधी जी की बायोग्राफी पढ़ते हैं तो उसमें गांधी जी ने शायद अपनी प्रशंसा से ज्यादा अपनी आलोचना की कि उन्होंने समाज के सामने क्या चीज ठीक की और क्या चीज गलत की। इसलिए मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं, today we observe the Martyrdom Day of Mahatma Gandhi. Let us revisit his eternal principles of truth and non-violence, which remains relevant to all generations and for all times. Mahatma Gandhi ji has rightly said, if one does not practice non-violence in one's personal relation with other and hopes to use it in bigger affairs, one is vastly mistaken. Non-violence like charity must begin at home. तो मैं ये देखता हूँ, आज हमारे प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी की तरफ मैं देखता हूँ, उनके बहुत सारे आलोचक भी होंगे, प्रशंसक भी होंगे, पर उन्होंने गांधी जी की स्वच्छता को सबसे ज्यादा उन्होंने उठाया। शौचालयों के निर्माण का काम उन्होंने सबसे ज्यादा उठाया। महिलाओं का सशक्तिकरण हो या और बहुत सी चीजें ऐसी हैं जिसके अंदर हम कह सकते हैं कि सरकार आज गांधी जी के बहुत से आदर्शों को, विचारों को, कार्यों को, उनकी शिक्षाओं को पालन करने के अंदर लगी हुई। So friends, all of us need to practice and cultivate non-violence in all aspects of our lives. As Bapu has said, one cannot be non-violent in one's own circle and violent outside it. Bapu had also said, there is no hope for the aching world except through the narrow and straight path of non-violence. In this regard, practicing non-violence in all our interactions and communication is important for harmonious coexistence. आज हम देखते हैं, अब अंग्रेजों के खिलाफ तो हमको नॉन वायलेंस नहीं करनी है, पर अपने जीवन में, व्यवहार के अंदर, इसके अंदर हमको ये जरूर देखना है कि हम अपने परिवार के अंदर, अपने पेरेंट्स के साथ, अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ, समाज के साथ हम कितने सहिष्णु हो सकते हैं, हम कितना बर्दाश्त कर सकते हैं, हम अपना दूसरों को बदलने की जगह हम खुद कितना बदल सकते हैं। तो मैं समझता हूं कि, और मेरी ये इच्छा है, एक इतने बड़े ऑर्गेनाइजेशन गांधी स्मृति दर्शन समिति के वाइस चेयरमैन होने के नाते, कि गांधी को हमने बहुत पढ़ा, बहुत लिखा, अभी भी बहुत रिसर्च हो रही है, पर अब गांधी को फॉलो करने के लिए हम सबको काम करना चाहिए कि आज की जनरेशन कैसे करे। आज आप देखिए, माँ बाप हैं, बच्चों को बहुत कुछ सिखाते हैं, पर बच्चे खुद देखते हैं, ये खुद उसको फॉलो नहीं करते हैं, खुद झगड़ते हैं और खुद उन आदर्शों का, विचारों का, शिक्षाओं का, धर्म का पालन नहीं करते हैं, तो फिर बच्चे उसको कभी भी सीख नहीं पाते। तो आज जरूरत है कि गांधी हमारे जीवन के अंदर किस तरीके से आए और लोग उनको अपनाएं, ये बहुत जरूरी है। ये दुर्भाग्य है कि आज गांधी जी की आलोचना भी उतनी ही होने लग गई है, जबकि मैं समझता हूं गांधी जैसा कोई दूसरा नहीं। मुझे आप लोगों ने बुलाया, इसके लिए 2 शब्द कहने को कहे, मैं आपका आभारी हूं। और मैं समझता हूं गांधी स्मृति के अंदर हम लगातार इस बात की सेमिनार, सिंपोजियम्स वगैरह करेंगे कि गांधी के आदर्शों को आज के जीवन के अंदर और खासतौर से युवाओं और छात्रों और बच्चों के बीच में हम कैसे पहुंचाएं, ताकि गांधी की जो सही शिक्षाएं हैं उनको सही तरीके से लोग जीवन के अंदर अपना सकें। थैंक यू सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका, आपने मुझे मौका दिया।
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay Goyal. Thank you for all those clear words of inspiration for the audience. I would want to now introduce you all to another important and distinguished member, Dr. Vedabhyas Kunduji, who is the program officer with Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti since 2002. has been conducting a lot of workshops, delivering lectures on providing different dimensions of the Gandhian philosophy, both nationally as well as internationally. And he has been coordinating and organizing different programs for state government institutions, central government, judiciary, etc. He's also conducted workshops on the Gandhian model of mediation, which itself is quite renowned. More importantly, he has been developing different courses of the Samiti, including courses on nonviolent communication, strategies of conflict resolutions in schools, community mediation. And apart from that, he has been writing extensively for various journals and chapters. Recently, for his unique contribution to promoting nonviolent communication during the pandemic period, the Delhi Journalists Association awarded him with the Corona Warrior Award. My honor to invite you, Dr. Vedavyas Kunduji, to share a few words on this wonderful occasion. Dr. Vedavyas?
Please unmute. You're muted.
Can you
Please
speak,
unmute.
Dr. Vedavyas? Can you
Yeah.
hear us?
Yes.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear us?
I
Yes.
can hear you.
Well, good evening to everyone from India. Am I audible and visible?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Actually, at the last minute, our director, sir, our BC sir just spoke, Vice Chairperson, Shri Vijay Goel, sir. And our director, sir, was supposed to come for this meeting, Mr. Dipankar Shri Gyan, but he was not feeling too well. So he asked me to speak on his behalf so that we can, we can share with you all the work that we are trying to do. Our Honorable Vice Chairperson just spoke on the occasion. It is a great honor for Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti to be part of this program, and the Honorable Consul General of India in New York and the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, United States. It is a great occasion to be part of this program and to mark the 74th anniversary martyrdom day of the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Friends, one of the most important thing as we wanted to share in this, as we need to be very short and crisp, I will tell you about some of the programs of Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti, which has now taken up international dimension. One of the program is as in fact taking forward to what our Honorable Vice Chairperson said and what Madam Tara Gandhi Bhattacharjee was talking about, Gandhi and non-violence. We have taken up this whole program in the context of aggressive communication, aggressive violence in our approaches, program on non-violent communication. In fact, we reach out to stakeholders in the judiciary, the police, the civil servants, the home guards, the university students, teachers, and school students also. We have this whole course on nonviolent communication, which has got a major global traction. In fact, we have been conducting this online training program all over, right from countries like Indonesia to Bangladesh to Spain to Latin America and various other countries. And we run this whole course on nonviolent communication, which is available in Gandhi Smriti's website and also in the MyGov platform. In fact, more than 1 lakh people have done this course, both nationally and internationally. In fact, I remember having these sessions with the students from Kyrgyzstan, almost 5, and this whole course was translated into Kyrgyz language. Also, the course has been getting translated into French language. So non-violent communication in today's world is extremely important in the criticality of aggressive violence that takes place across whether it is within ourselves, our internal communication, or our interaction with others. Also, in the context of the issues of hate speech, which is at the global level, I remember in 2019, the UN Secretary General came up with a UN strategy and plan of action to combat hate speech. So in all these contexts, Gandhi Smriti has been able to promote this whole idea in a big way. Another important aspect that we are trying to promote is the whole idea of mediation as per the model of Mahatma Gandhi. As mediation is, in fact, of recently, the Honorable Chief Justice of India has been underlining the importance of mediation at various forums and various ways. Also, we find at a global level various UN initiatives in international efforts to promote mediation in every aspect of conflicts. In that context, of course, there are various contemporary practical models of mediation, but in the context of Gandhi Smriti, we are trying to promote the Gandhian approach to humanistic mediation, a model which promotes humanistic approach to the mediation process, and as idea the how a mediator can inculcate different values of Gandhian humanism. Like for instance, the essence of the importance of the means and the ends, the importance of truthfulness, importance of non-violence, compassion, love, kindness, and also the importance of how one can do emotional bridge building to resolve conflicts. These are various important aspects to it, and we keep on striving to work in different parts of the country and abroad on these aspects. Also, we need to simplify, as our Honorable Vice Chairperson talked about, the simplification of Gandhian approach and Gandhian principles and values. Like I remember this very simple thing which we tell to the students and others when we talk of Gandhian nonviolence, the 5 simple pillars of Gandhian nonviolence: respect, understanding, acceptance, positive appreciation, and compassion. Very simple to follow, but how we can inculcate in our daily lives. We would love to, as part of Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti, work with the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan in the United States to spread some of these ideas of Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, and we would love to work together further. Thank you very much.
Dr. Kunduji, thank you very much. In fact, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan was started on Gandhiji's birthday, 2nd October 1981. We just completed our 40 years. Bhavan has been celebrating October 2nd and 30th June 30th for almost 35 plus years now. And along with the Consul General of India, we do the garlanding ceremony at the Union Square, Gandhiji's statue, and we pay our respects. And I want to personally thank you, Dr. Kunduji, for coordinating everything, and it went very smooth along with you and Reinuji to bring all these distinguished guests together. So we appreciate your help, and we will continue working with the Gandhi Smriti Samiti, Darshan Samiti, and thank you all for your support. I would like to have Ravi Ayerji introduce the next guest.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Our next guest speaker is Mrs. Reinu Sharma, the president and founder of the Beti and Shiksha Foundation. Herself a very multifaceted woman, as an entrepreneur, a social activist, and a philanthropist. She's been an advocate of public causes and a mentor for budding industrialists. And in her early years, she started a career at Indian Express, and then went on to, proceed with launching of the In-House magazine. And then as a former director at the Center of Bharatiya Marketing Development, which is a unit of Swadeshi Jagran Foundation, she helped to organize Swadeshi Melas all over the country. It's important to know that in the process of that, a lot of various skill trainings and active participation in the handicraft exhibitions worldwide was one of those important activities which she was engaged in. And therefore, she has left a kind of a stamp or a mark in terms of what she can contribute in all these activities. It's very engaging to know more about her thoughts and her approach. And therefore, we have her today on this occasion. Mrs. Reinu Sharma, may I invite you to now speak a few words and talk to the audience about. Thank you.
Namaskar, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm so obliged that Tarama spoke. I requested her, and it is a day, the unfaithful day, the way on 30th January 1948, 3 gunshots at 5 p.m. in in New Delhi, killed Mahatma, a saint, a messenger of God, was shot dead. We shook the whole world with a shock. That was the day, and that's what we are celebrating today here, Martyr Day of Mahatma Gandhi. I would like to talk about Mahatma Gandhi's relevance in today's days, today's present tense. We all know that we are all suffering today because of this unprecedented circumstances, that is the coronavirus. And we don't know how long it's going to go and when it's going to end. And I would like to mention here, like Tarama said, Vijay Goyalji said, that there is a need to, to introspect ourselves, why this is happening to us. And if you go back, Mahatma Gandhi taught us all these things, all these practices, almost centuries back, and we never followed it. As I know, Mahatma Gandhi always said that real India is in its villages. And where we went wrong, I've been very honored to be part of two associates of Mahatma Gandhi. One was Naranji Deshmukh, other one was Navnath Goenka. They were associate, philosopher, friends, and freedom fighter with Mahatma Gandhi. And I've heard so many stories from them. And I will tell you one thing, till their death, they were all wearing khadi. Number of times I asked Ramnath Goenka ji, he said, I promised Mahatma Gandhi, he used to travel for his business trips to New York and other places, but he'll always wear khadi. I promised Mahatma Gandhi that I will wear khadi. And I've seen these two people always wearing khadi till they died. And I will tell you what Ramnath Goenka and what Nanaji Deshmukh told me, that our real India is in the villages. And Nanaji always used to say that we are polishing the leaves. We are not thinking about our roots. Our roots are in our villages. And there where we went wrong. And we saw when pandemic happened, you know, the laborer, the migrant workers, they suffered a lot. They suffered a lot. If we would have followed the policy of Mahatma Gandhi, we would have created the opportunities within the villages to generate the employment, which was not there. Today, you know, I live in Delhi. We all go to big cities of Delhi. And if you see every big city, every big colony, a good colony, you see Mumbai, you see Delhi, has slums. Have we ever thought about it? Why these slums? Because we never worked in the villages. We never tried to generate employment in the villages. Our villages, believe me or not, I work with the villages. I work with the women in the villages. It has so much talent. It has so much culture. It has so much heritage that we are forgetting that. And this pandemic taught us that we have to go back to our roots. We have to start work from the villages. If these workers would have got the job, they suffered the maximum. And Mahatma Gandhi always worked for the people who are the poorest. He always worked. We have the example of Champaran. When people were sick, when indigo worker was suffering, Mahatma Gandhi immediately went to the rescue. But we didn't follow all those things. And today we all suffer because of all that. Mahatma Gandhi believed in ethical living, social equality, we know, and he is one person. I every year celebrate and give Women Achiever Award. And that's because Mahatma Gandhi gave equality to the women. And we all know in our freedom struggle, how much women really worked hard. He almost used women at every and each and every sphere of his work. We know about Sarojini Naidu. When SALT movement started and they were all arrested, they went behind the jail. The baton of that struggle was taken forward by Sarojini Naidu. And it forced Britishers to take the SALT Act back. He always believed in the indigenous product. We should, promote our villages. Villages have sufficient stuff. I will like to request all our diaspora, if you can come and visit. We all visit big cities. We never think about visiting. Have you ever visited Northeast? It's so beautiful. Have you ever visited our villages? It's so nice. There's so much nature. We are so close to nature. I would request everybody to visit, and we have to follow Swadeshi. I will also request that I have seen Mahatma Gandhi, Ramnath Goenka, Naranji. We must wear khadi at least once a week. Carry a handkerchief of khadi to give employment to those people. I work for the women. I work for those people. So I know everybody has to speak. I have only 10 minutes, and these 10 minutes are not enough to explain a soul like Mahatma Gandhi, who did so much for this world. As Tarama said, he's not father of nation, he's father of whole world. He's been respected so much, and we have to follow his principles. We have to follow the way of life. He gave importance to hygiene, health, and today our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji is trying. We have Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, where you can see the specks of Mahatma Gandhi shown. We have Atam Nirbhar Bharat. We have vocal for local. All these are the principles, and he's following the footsteps of Mahatma Gandhi. I would request everybody, every diaspora, to come and contribute on those prayers. And I think we can face this situation like pandemic if we would have followed Mahatma Gandhi in a much better way. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you.
Namaskar. Thank you very much, Reinu ji. We appreciate your help. You've been coordinating the whole, getting all the dignitaries on board, and we have had 2 a.m. calls, as you recollect. But we really sincerely appreciate your help, and we hope to do some more programs in the future.
Yeah, sure.
Raviji,
Yeah.
please introduce the next guest.
Yeah, thank you, Reinu, for all those words, and your extending the invitation to people, the larger diaspora, to come and visit the towns and villages. I think it's a very encouraging piece of information that you shared. Thank you once again. Our next speaker is Shri Anil Naranji, a Gandhian in thought, a total vegan, and an investment banker by profession, but largely focused on promoting sustainable development. And I would invite Anil Naranji to share his thoughts on this wonderful day. Anil Naranji.
Thank you. It's an honor to speak at the invitation of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan and Gopiyo. Thank you for arranging this. I was also heartened to meet over Zoom Tara Gandhi and Vijay Goyal because this early morning New York time, I saw the live Gandhi Smriti function. I always watch them on January 30th and October 2. I've also been there personally many times whenever I have been in Delhi. And I would like to highlight that the person who has taken me is a very special person, Shri K.D. Madan. He is now 98, touchwood, functioning very well for his age. He is probably one or two of the living witnesses to Gandhi's assassination. He used to actually record his speeches for All India Radio, and he has narrated to me a lot of personal anecdotes which I have not read elsewhere. So maybe I'll share some of those. Firstly, he mentioned that he had the hard job of recording his speeches at 5 p.m. or so, and then posting it on All India Radio. And for some reason, All India Radio had some technical limit of 30 minutes. So K.D. Madan had to edit some things. And so one day he took the bold step of approaching Gandhiji and said, मेरे पास ये मुसीबत है, मैं आप आधे घंटे में खत्म कर सकते हैं. So one of Gandhi's helpers, Sushila Nair, immediately scolded K.D. Madan, how can you suggest something like this to this great man? And it turns out that Gandhiji was so punctual and so conscientious of others that he said, अरे Shri Madan, इसमें क्या है, जब 1, 2, 5 सेकंड रह जाए बस इशारा कर दो और मैं बंद कर दूंगा. after that, all his speeches, each and every speech which are recorded, even the printed word, you will see that in the middle of a sentence, he would say, "Bas ho gaya." This is when K.D. Madan raised his finger. So he would just drop it and be very punctual. So this is the greatness of the man, even on small things. The other incident Shri K.D. Madan cited to me is that in those Gandhi Smriti events, there was always a Hindu person whose family unfortunately had faced a lot of atrocities during the partition. And whenever Gandhiji used to cite the scriptures from each religion, including the Quran, especially the Quran, he would raise his finger in protest. This is the Hindu person. And Gandhiji would always acknowledge him with the finger, but continue on, saying that each religion has something good to give. If Quran says we must be honest, so what's wrong with that? That's also very, very good. So these are two amazing incidences I thought I will highlight, which you may not find elsewhere. The other thing is actually that I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there is this cartoon which I have in a book, Profiles of Gandhi and Tributes to Gandhi by Americans, which my father had given me. And it basically says, shows Gandhiji in heaven, greeting Dr. King and saying, "The odd thing about assassins, Dr. King, is that they think they have killed you." So here is all of us gathering many decades after 1948, honoring him so much. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before we announce the next speaker, I just have to give you a message from Dr. H.R. Shah, Padma Shri Dr. H.R. Shah. He was not feeling well. He was sick. So he said, "Please pardon me, but convey my respects to everyone in attendance." So thank you, everybody. And the next speaker would like to invite, of course, leaders are always last. We have two remaining head of organizations. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Thomas Abraham, who is the current chairman of GoPio International. The greatest achievement of Dr. Abraham is building several NRI, PIO, Indian Community Institutions as follows: FIA New York, NFIA, GoPio, Indian American Kerala Culture and Civic Center, Jagdish Bhagwati Chair for Indian Political Economy at Columbia University, National Indian American Association for Senior Citizens, South Asian Council for Social Services, and the Indus Nanotechnology Association. He has taken up several issues of the global Indian community for the last 39 years and was presented with Bharat Vanshi Gaurav Award by former VP Bhairav Singh Shekhawat-ji and Pravasi Bharatiya Samman by the President of India in 2008 for his outstanding service to the Indian communities worldwide and India. He's an expert in advanced materials and nanotechnology. Dr. Abraham is President of Innovative Research and Products, a Stanford-based company, and a market research company. Please welcome Dr. Abraham.
Good morning. Thank you, Sudhirji, for inviting me as a speaker. Good morning, good evening to those from India, and namaskar. We have already heard from many distinguished speakers, but I want to share some thoughts about my own thoughts about Gandhiji. Although in the last 2 years we have been homebound because of coronavirus, but that has also provided us an opportunity to celebrate virtually many national events with our diaspora members worldwide and people in India. For those who are not aware of GoPio, GoPio International is a pan-Indian community organization for NRIs and PIOs with over 100 chapters spread in 35 countries. It was formed in New York in 1989 when we reached out our diaspora to come together to jointly fight human rights violations of our diaspora community around the world. As Mahatma Gandhi did community mobilization in South Africa, fighting the discrimination, civil rights, and human rights violation of South African Indians. Our own Gopio movement was influenced by Gandhiji's movement to bring everyone together for a common cause, such as human rights violations of NRIs and PIOs around the world in the late 1980s. We had filed cases on behalf of Indo-Fijians, Indo-Sri Lankan Tamils at the UN Human Rights Commission in Geneva in the early 1990s. Within the first 10 years of our existence, our diaspora community had reached to political mainstream in many countries with larger diaspora population. Since then, our own objectives were changed to network diaspora communities around the world and look after the large interest of the community and India. I'm not an academician or a Gandhian scholar. I have been an Indian community activist for 47 years in the US. I would say a person with the longest involvement in the community in America and probably around the world. As an engineering student from Jaipur, I landed in New York in 1973 to pursue my doctorate in engineering at Columbia University. My own education in India didn't provide me opportunity to more about Gandhian philosophy and thoughts. However, by chance, I became the president of the India Club of Columbia University and later chairman of the Joint Committee of Indian Organizations, which I transformed to FIA New York. This is where I have learned more in Gandhian thoughts, where when I organized meetings and panel discussions to celebrate Gandhi Jayanti in the 1970s. At that time, there was only one institution in New York which promoted Gandhian ideals and thoughts. Beginning 1921, there was the Unitarian Church at 35th Street in Manhattan, where Reverend John Haynes Holmes embraced Mohandas Gandhi's pacifism and militant nonviolence. After his retirement, the church continued the prophetic witness with the leadership of Reverend Donald Harrington. I had the opportunity to invite Reverend Harrington in many community functions in New York City. Later, I had the opportunity to work very closely with Gandhi Peace Foundation in Delhi and hosted Gandhian speakers in the later years in New York and other cities in America. Sudhirji already mentioned about many of the institutions I initiated, and all these have become big institutions. For all this work, Gandhiji's ideal of selfless work for the larger society influenced me. 3 quotes from Gandhiji always resonates with me. That is, be the change that you want to see in the world. Second one, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And finally, our Counsel General already mentioned about it. I do not want my house to be walled in all sides and my windows to be stuffed. I want the cultures of all lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible, but I refuse to be blown off my feet by any. I unquote. In 1931, Albert Einstein wrote to Mohandas K. Gandhi to express his great admiration for the Indian leader's methods. The letter reads in part, I quote, "You have shown through your words that it is possible to succeed without violence, even with those who have not discarded the methods of violence." I unquote. Einstein, on the occasion of Mahatma Gandhi's 70th birthday, said, I quote, "Generations to come, it may well be will scarce believe that such a man on as this one ever in flesh and blood walked upon this earth. Unquote. When I see the respect given to Gandhiji all over the world, it pains me to see a big disinformation campaign against Gandhiji from some of our own countrymen with extreme views in India, and nothing much done to stop such disinformation. As we are paying tribute to Gandhiji, I hope and pray that people learn and know the truth about Gandhiji and follow his ideals. Even in this changing world, Gandhiji's Satyagraha, that is militant nonviolence, truth force and soul force is the best weapon to fight any injustice. I thank Sudhirji for giving me this opportunity to speak on this occasion. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Abraham. Before I bring in the next speaker, I would like to recognize some of the community leaders who are attending. The newly elected AIA National President, Govind Munjalji, welcome. Mukunbhai Mehta, the President of the Seniors Association of America, Harshad Patel Pakaji, the President of Gujarati Samaj, we welcome you and we need your support for Bharati Vidya Bhavan. And thank you for joining us today. Before I introduce the chairman of Bharati Vidya Bhavan, there has been a request from Taraji that she wants to say a few words. So Taraji, please welcome and join us.
Thank you. I only want to say thank you. And thank you again for including me in this search for Gandhi. There's a big search all over the world for Gandhi. Who was Gandhi? What was he like? And how did he become that? And when we go on searching, we realize that Gandhi is within ourselves. It is our conscience. The best way to know Gandhi is to follow one's own truth, to one's own conscience. I would say that. And talking about the cleanliness drive that the Prime Minister has brought in here, I would like to add to that, while I congratulate the Prime Minister for this, that a cleanliness also means cleaning the mind of hate and fear. So a mind without violence will lead to environment without pollution. The river Ganges is not polluted. It is my mind that is polluted, which has caused the violence to the rivers, to the human beings, to all life. So with all of you, I want to celebrate life and creation. And this is all I wanted to say, but above all, thank you for this journey with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Taraji, for your blessings. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Mehta, Dr. Naveen Mehta, who's the chairman of Bharati Vidya Bhavan. Dr. Mehta is the current chairman, and I don't think he needs any introduction, at least in our community. He's a well-renowned ENT surgeon by profession, a philanthropist, and a firebrand community leader. He's the clinical professor at the Mount Sinai Hospital in New York. He's a board of advisor to several professional and community organizations. There are numerous organizations. I cannot list them all here. He has been bestowed with many prestigious awards for his service to humanity, including the prestigious Ellis Island Award and many more. It's my pleasure to welcome Honorable Chairman Dr. Naveen Mehta ji.
Good morning, everyone, and good evening to the people in India. We are very fortunate that Bharati Vidya Bhavan was established by one of the most respected person in Indian community, Dr. Jayaramanji. And fortunately for us and for all of us, Jayaramanji has lived with Mahatma Gandhi in Varda for 2 years. There are so many untold stories we have heard from Dr. Jayaramanji that what was the Gandhiji all about. And we were really completely, totally, we are blessed that Jayaramanji is still around us. And once in a while we speak with each other. Mentally, he's still sharp, body-wise he's a little frail, but he's still a happy person. Gandhiji's legacy goes for a long, long time. We have discussed so many things. One of the so many respected people said tons of things. We read about it, we research about it. But Gandhiji believed in a very common thing, non-violence. There's a picture, the painting of Lord Mahavira behind me. One of the Jain monk, Srimad Rajchandra, was Gandhiji's initial friend, mentor, and everything. Gandhiji has mentioned so many things about Srimad Rajchandra. Gandhiji believed that no punyam, no papam, no sokyam, no dukham, no mantro, no tirtham, no veda, no yajnaha. Gandhiji used to say, my yajna is to liberate India. My yajna is to make common people very happy. And that was the reason why he said, let's get rid of these Britishers. We should govern ourselves so we make our own people very happy. Gandhiji has also not just the non-violence, but freedom from poverty, freedom for illiteracy. The people should be learning, people should be more literate and think logically. Gandhiji used to say that everybody can achieve so many things with non-violence. In this society, I think now we believe we need more of non-violence than the violence what's going on all around the world. Gandhiji believed the violence starts from the family. If there the children are born in a family who are literate, who are believing in a God, not the God what we know, going to the temple and do puja and yagya, but to keep the God inside the house, be truthful to yourself and be truthful to other people. What you speak, that's what you do. And that's what the Gandhiji's life is all about. Not hard to follow, not easy to follow. But Gandhiji has said so many things, even if you follow one thing every day, the world will be totally different. Thank you again, all very eminent people, nice speakers. Thank you again, the Consul General. Thank you, New Delhi. And people who are thinking on the same way like we think. Thank you so much. And we have to learn so many things. We have to follow in our life what Gandhiji has said. And thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta, for joining us this morning. I know you had a busy schedule at the hospital, but you spared some time out. And thank you for being with us. Last but not least, I think it's my duty to thank all of the people who were instrumental in getting this program together. First and foremost, thank you to all the dignitaries from India after having a long day. They were able to join us. We continue to seek your blessings. And whenever in future we call you, I'm sure you will bless us with your presence. Next, I would like to thank Consulate General of India, namely Preeti ji and staff, Sugandha ji, and other staff members who have helped for carrying it live on Facebook Live, on Facebook, Consulate's Facebook, India and New York, sorry. Gopio, the entire Gopio Manhattan group, they've been very helpful, especially Mr. Shivinder Sofatji, the president of the Manhattan chapter, Mr. Chitranjan Sahib, Balwarji, you see them working so hard, Professor Rajasekhar Vengapatiji, and all the other community members who time out, and of course, Board of Directors, Bharati Vidya Bhavan, New York, and the entire media, including PIO TV, which was carrying this program live, and all of our media friends. Thank you, and stay safe. And I think we'll now open it up for if anybody has any questions or for any individuals or any of the dignitaries present. Please.
The chat is open. Sudhirji, chat is open now. The people can type the questions in the chat if you want. Or,
sure. Should we enable the stop the recording?
Yes. So we can stop the recording now. And can we stop the?
And sorry, Sid Jainji, Sidji, I forgot.
Yes.
Some of these people are also Bhavanites. Sid Jainji, Rajasekharji, they're all part of Bhavan too. So they are wearing multiple hats this morning.
Thank you, Sudhirji. So the chat is open for the public. Please post your questions, and Raviji or Sudhirji, you can moderate the questions. You can look at the chat and then you can moderate them.
Sure. We have a learned audience. I'm sure we're going to get some questions.
we unmuted also. They can themselves unmute and ask questions also. So
Okay.
I would like to share, if you kindly permit, I would like to share something very interesting for all of us. If you would like kindly permit, Suriji.
Please, sir.
Yeah. You see, as we are, offering tribute to the Mahatma Gandhi today on his 74th Martyrdom Day, it is very interesting. I will share with you one interesting occasion. I was putting together, writing a book of dialogue, which Gandhi Smriti and the Penguin published last year. And this gentleman called Mr. Christian Volo Bethelson from Liberia, I was interviewing him, of course, through online mode for the book. And you see why this case study is very important, because many of us are working on the issues of peace and all. But Mr. Bethelson, for 25 years of his life, he was a rebel army commander when the civil war was going on in Liberia before 2005. And he said during the course of his interview, his business was the business of killing people. But after the civil war ended, he was trying to move over to join the rebel army in Ivory Coast. And there his vehicle laden with arms and ammunition got, struck. And there was a vehicle which was just nearby, which had also got struck. And that is the vehicle of a organization, a grassroots level peace building organization in Liberia called the Everyday Gandhis. And then the whole process, they tried to, talk to him. They, the whole transformation process started. And you see, from someone who was in the process of killing people as an armed rebel leader. And in fact, he was telling during the course of the interview that, 5 members of his family were mowed down by another rebel commander. But after that process of transformation happened, he now talks about the whole idea of non-violence. He actually went back to that rebel commander who had mounted down 5 members of his family, and he embarrassed him, and it was a process of forgiveness and reconciliation. And what was very important, he said that for you, Mahatma Gandhi is the father of your nation, but for me, Mahatma Gandhi is the father of peace in the world. So that is something very important, how Gandhiji inspires people, and people like, say, Christian Volo Bethelson. And that is something we all need to cherish, something we all need to understand in today's world, how we can go into the process of transformation of people who might be taking to violence, so that they tread the path of non-violence. I thought it would be a very good example to share on this day. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?